Hey there, happy Friday. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Patricia Murphy with a roundup of today's top stories. It's June 27th. President Donald Trump has criticized federal judges for blocking his executive orders. Now, a ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court has curtailed the power of those judges. Amy Radel has more.
Washington was one of the states challenging President Trump's order to eliminate birthright citizenship. A federal judge in Seattle called the order unconstitutional and granted a nationwide injunction placing it on hold. Now the U.S. Supreme Court has reined in those injunctions. Lisa Mannheim is a law professor at the University of Washington.
What this decision today does is it makes it much more difficult for courts to be able to use these sorts of injunctions. What today's opinion says is that courts can only issue these sorts of injunctions under certain narrow circumstances.
Attorney General Nick Brown says now his office must show that Washington state would be harmed if birthright citizenship is eliminated elsewhere, and he's prepared to do that. Otherwise, in states that haven't sued, the order could take effect in 30 days. Amy Radel, KUOW News.
Republican Congressman Dan Newhouse from Central Washington is rejecting a plan to sell millions of acres of federally owned public lands. Politico reports he and 4 other colleagues from Montana, Idaho, California, and Oregon sent a letter to House Speaker Mike Johnson yesterday telling them they'll vote no on any version of the bill that includes this plan. They call the proposal a grave mistake. Supporters say the sales would open up more western state lands for housing and infrastructure. Politico says 5 no votes would be enough to sink the president's domestic policy bill in the House. A Pierce County man who was ordered to be sent to South Sudan as a result of President Trump's deportation policies is now petitioning Washington Governor Bob Ferguson and the state's Clemency and Pardons Board for a pardon. Noelle Gasca has that story.
After serving 25 years in a Washington state prison, Tuan Phan's family says he was planning to be deported to Vietnam. Instead, he was ordered to be deported to South Sudan. Angelica Chasero is Tuan Phan's attorney. She says earlier this morning, the Clemency Board sent an email denying an expedited review of Phan's petition, citing a policy that narrows pardon applications to those who have received no infractions in the last 3 years. The board referenced a verbal fight Phan had in 2023, and Chasero says she's outraged by the decision.
But the board's abdication of their responsibility clears the way for what we have always known to be true, that Governor Ferguson has the power to act now to pardon Tuan and clear the way for him to come home.
Under current state law, the Clemency and Pardons Board is able to make recommendations on petitions to the governor, but the governor makes the final decision. In an emailed statement to KUOW, a spokesperson with Governor Ferguson's office wrote that they're aware of the Clemency Board's decision and that Phan's lawyers are asking the board to reconsider. Noelle Gasca, KUOW News.
Some big local news. Pike Place Market is extending its temporary ban on most car traffic through the Seattle landmark into early next year. The pilot program started in April, and it was supposed to wrap up in July. But now the head of the Pike Place Market Preservation and Development Association says they want to see how the ban will affect businesses over an entire year while they come up with a street management plan. The program has kept pretty much everything other than delivery trucks, emergency and construction crews, and drivers with disabled parking permits from driving through the heart of the market. In labor news, more than 30,000 unionized grocery workers in Washington have until 8 o'clock tonight to decide whether to accept a new contract deal from Kroger and Albertsons. Workers at stores like Fred Meyer, QFC, and Safeway voted earlier this month to authorize a strike, but now union leaders are encouraging their members to vote yes. If the workers accept the deal, they would get a pay increase, increased staffing levels, and keep their current health and pension benefits. The results could be tabulated as soon as tonight. How about some good news about salmon? More than 900 spring Chinook salmon returned to the Walla Walla River this year. That's more than 10 times the number in 2023. That's a result of a lot of work by the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation in collaboration with the Bonneville Power Administration and the state governments of Washington and Oregon. Jeremiah Bonifer manages fisheries programs for tribes.
None of us operate in vacuums. None of us can silo ourselves away because we share the impacts of these basins. We also share the successes of the basins, and so it takes all of us to do that.
Bonifer hopes that there will be enough salmon in future years to open up a harvest for both tribal and non-tribal members. This spring, they missed the mark by just 100 fish. Next week is the 4th of July. The city of SeaTac has canceled this year's celebratory program at Angle Lake Park. You may remember last year when an aerial drone show literally fell apart when 55 drones malfunctioned and fell into the water. Officials say they're taking a break from putting on a large show, not only this year, but next year as well, so they can see how to make it safer and more inclusive. No word yet if the city will try another drone show in the future. As for this 4th of July, the city is inviting people to come by the park and enjoy a number of activities until 6 p.m. In sports, a statue honoring a basketball great will go up tomorrow in Seattle. A statue of Lenny Wilkens, philanthropist and former Seattle Supersonics coach, will be revealed at 11:45. It'll sit just outside Climate Pledge Arena, the same grounds where Wilkens coached the Sonics. Wilkens is expected to be in attendance. And Seattle Mariners' Cal Raleigh announced today that he's competing in this year's MLB Home Run Derby. The 28-year-old, nicknamed Big Dumper, has been swinging the bat well. He currently leads the major leagues with 32 home runs on the season. The last Mariner to participate in the Home Run Derby was Julio Rodriguez, who broke the record for the most home runs in a single round at T-Mobile Park in 2023. The last Mariner to win the Derby was Ken Griffey Jr. in 1999. No catcher has ever won the Derby in its 40-year history. Cal will try to be the first on July 14th. Next time on Seattle Now, international artists are having an extra hard time coming to Seattle under the Trump administration, and that's a loss for artists and consumers.
And that exposes them to audiences that might not know who they are, and exposes us as audiences to art that we might never know about or see or commentary about in other countries' politics.
Hear that Monday. That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Vaughn Jones, and I'm Patricia Murphy. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you later.